Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the stand for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have Kotoribako, or the child stealing box. So Kotoribako is one of those Japanese creepypastas that we've been kind of pulling from Kawabana website. So
Also, that's how we assume it's said. It's pronounced.
yes,
We're just rolling with it.
Yeah, for the time, that's how I'm going to say it. And if it's wrong, well, you can leave a comment in the comment section below where this is posted, so where you can tell us exactly how to pronounce it properly. Because I looked, I couldn't really find how to pronounce this word.
There is a video at the very start of this story.
Really?
That probably says it repeatedly.
Oh my god, are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
I did not. I just.
You want me to watch it real quick and see?
I was about to pull it up actually myself.
Do it. Yeah.
One moment, please. Well, within the first second, it's like the Kotoribako.
Cool.
So that's probably like at least a version of how you'd say it. Like it might be different depending on the inflection and such that you need.
Mm-hmm. We've done a deep dive with our research for how to pronounce it.
Yes, a whole 5 seconds into a video that apparently was already on the website of Kawabana. So, but yeah, so we're doing Kotoribako, and it was translated and posted on Kawabana website, so you can check it out there. I've doing a quick look. There are other versions of it. It seems online elsewhere. It even has a spot the actual box itself, like the artifact itself, even has an entry on the Encyclopedia of the Impossible, which is where I got a bunch of information regarding the Kitsuragi Station entries and stuff like that, like where it was and such. So it seems like an interesting website as well. The Encyclopedia of the Impossible. It has basically just entries on weird artifacts and places and anomalies and stuff. It's kind of like an SCP, but for non-SCP creepypasta items and spooky things. So
okay.
But anyway, I suppose we should dive into the rundown before I continue digressing 100%. So the story is pulled from a series of blog entries by an anonymous poster who in the story goes by A, like the capital A, like the capital letter A. Every person and place in this story is given an alias to protect their identities. So A and his friends, M and K, are waiting for a girl named S to arrive so they can go out drinking. So S brings over a strange puzzle box because she knows A is good at puzzles. However, M, who can see spirits and whose family are Shinto priests, freaks out as he sees something terrible about the box. Apparently, S and her family found the box while cleaning out an old shed on the property that they were going to be demolishing. M calls his father, and then after some very weird and nervous, panicked behavior, asks for a knife and performs a purification ritual over S and the box involving his own blood. And then S pukes out some weird thing, and then M puts a blood, his bloody handprint on the box, and begins performing an incantation to try and purify the box. M takes the box, ties it to his hand for safekeeping and disposal, and the night is basically over at that point as A drives everyone home after that. A finds this whole thing very interesting, as apparently these boxes are M's family business, like finding them and cleansing them of some inner evil, and gets the okay from M to post the story, but also wants to know more. And as it happens, so does K and S's family. So a few days go by. They meet at S's family house with M. Apparently, S's neighbor, Jason, was against the destruction of the shed and like had a big argument with S's father because he knew about the box. As they all meet up and discuss what's happening, Jason reveals that his family, S's family, and their neighbor across the road, the T's, were all part of some ancestral arrangement to watch over and weaken a spiritual weapon, the Kotoribako, or the child-stealing box. Jason apparently turned away from his obligations when S's grandfather died, and he was supposed to take the box into his care because he was afraid that it was going to like affect his family or something along those lines. M's family are connected in all this as they are the original priests who set up the weakening ritual on the boxes in the first place. And then we get kind of a history lesson about the boxes. So in the past, the village these families came from were oppressed. And to fight back, they accepted a ritual to build these boxes that would kill any child or childbearing women in their presence. They were taught this by a mysterious man from the Oki Islands, who also seems to have the same surname as A. The boxes require child sacrifices to build the curse within them. And this village made quite a few of various potency, like made quite a few of these boxes of varying potency for the curse. I think like 54 plus children were sacrificed to make these boxes.
Yeah.
Like they made
That's
about
not including ones that failed as well, so it's probably more.
Yeah. I think in total, the story says like they made like about 16 boxes. Like fuck. But backing up a little bit, the first and most powerful box was made and given to the mysterious man, who then departed, leaving the villagers to build their own for their own ends. Eventually, after the village had succeeded in freeing themselves of other villages and the oppressive leaders through this terrifying weapon, they kept making boxes until they had an accident where one of their own children found one of the boxes and brought it into their home, and then like the whole family, basically like all the children and women, childbearing women of that household died. Realizing their folly now, or then, they seeked out priests, which are M's family, who instructed them on how to weaken the boxes over 100 years. And then the priests could then take the boxes and properly purify and dispose of them. There are currently only 2 boxes left. The one from earlier in the story has now been dealt with. A finishes up the story requesting that anyone with information on these boxes in their local folklore contact him with information, as he and the others are curious about the origins of the box, a possible connection between A and the mysterious man who knew how to make them in the first place, and also finding the last 2 boxes so that they can be purified. And that's where the story ends, or that's where the entries end. So, I suppose we shall move on to Everyone Tolerates the Graham Inquisitions! At this point. I've got a number of them. So, I'll start with this one here. M. Let's see. S-chan's family probably won't like that. Probably won't like what I have to say, but there's this village up on Mount O. They have things like that box up there. My dad took it there, and they've taken care of it. You're better of not knowing anything else about it. So the first thing, the Grammar Inquisition. It's probably you're better off not knowing anything else about it. Not of. It's just missing one F in the translation. Also, this is kind of related to Grammar Inquisition later in my notes. But so I initially Googled Mount O, Japan, just like because I was curious to see if that was an actual mountain. And everything I got was actually Mount Fuji. Like all
Yep.
the things I found when I was looking it up was just Mount Fuji, which at the time made sense because like Mount Fuji is a very spiritually significant location in Japan, and there's tons of shrines and stuff on it. Until you read further in the story and discover that Mount O is likely just an alias for the location of this story.
Yeah, I picked that up immediately because all the
I
names
I
are...
should have. I really should have, but I didn't. Because every person and place in the story is given false names for better or worse. It was a little confusing for me at times when they, using the way they use the aliases.
It's confusing for me the entire time.
Was it?
Yep.
Okay. I'm glad I wasn't the only one then. So moving on to the next thing here. She wanted to tell the three of us about it the next day. I think it needs to be she wanted to tell us, or she wanted to tell the three of us about it the next day. And then my next one here. So this is actually in regards to this story is done up in like blog entry bits. So we get like kind of the title of the blog entry and then like the blurb, like the actual entry itself. I feel like, however, we just get like a title and then like the bit where like the body of the writing after it. Like there's one in particular, when the contractors came to demolish the shed. Like that's the title, and then we go into this happened 2 days after the events at my house. The contractors arrived on May 23rd with their equipment, and as they tried to enter the yard, Jay approached S's father. So this was like the first kind of instance where I kind of felt like we should maybe like make this a little bit more blog entry format, or at least like almost like a log entry format, where I feel like there should be some kind of like timestamp or like a date stamp like next to the titles of these entries, just to kind of help keep the continuity going, or keep the continuity a little bit clear. And like you don't have to say like the year, but like even like the month and day, the day would, I think, help figure out like the timeline of what's going on in the present story.
Yeah, I'm not against that.
Yeah. But I'll move on to the next thing here. With M coming as well, she thought today would be the only chance for us to hear that story he had to tell, comma. So she convinced her father to invite Jay over, period. So for me, I feel like there should be a comma between as well and she thought. So like with M coming over as well, comma, she thought today would be blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Because it just kind of goes right into the next, like there's like no like kind of stop, but there should be like at least a small break. And then my next one here. Until I heard S's story, I thought perhaps there had just been a mistake, and that you didn't know of the existence of the box. But you did know, didn't you? Even though you knew of the box, you didn't take it on. Then, even though you knew it was in S's house, you kept quiet about it. So this happens a couple of times in the story. I think it might be because of the translation, but whenever it says in S's house, I think it's supposed to mean on S's property. Simply because the box was found outside in the shed. And
yeah, I guess
a couple of times in the story it says like in S's house when it's talking about the box, like being in the shed and stuff like that. So I think it just means like, I think that's just a translation error of property rather than house.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can say in S's family's possession or something like that, like something
Yeah.
more generic than specifically in the house because it's not in the house.
Yeah. Like I don't even think it was. Yeah. Like I think. Yeah. Like we were saying. And my next one here, and that guy in brackets me. He might be an outsider, but he might not be. His name is Double O. It's a fairly common surname around these parts, isn't it? Okay, so I got two things here with this quote here. Firstly, I feel like it should be, but he might also not be. Don't need that second might in there.
Yeah.
And secondly, I would have liked an in brackets bit saying that that Double O was a surname. Like in the the last sentence that the sentence right before this one, you just had an in bracket bit to explain that that guy was or was the person who's posting this. Also, it's not till a bit later that we do find out that there might actually be a connection between Double O and A because of their surname like being the same. So I liked this is sort of like a compliment to the story. I liked how there's a little bit of foreshadowing ahead of time on that. I just sometimes I want some clarity on in brackets if you're gonna use them previously.
I find it weird that Emma's referencing him as that guy, like he doesn't even really know him.
Well, no, I think he's like referencing I think like M knows him, but like Jason doesn't know him because he's addressing Jason this entire time. So it's like, and that guy, like I imagine M's point, like just like pointing a finger at A. It's like,
I guess,
or even just waving, like pointing a thumb. It's like, and that guy over there, he might be an outsider, but he might also not be an outsider. He might, but he might also might not be.
So much might.
Yeah, all might. Never fear, for I am here.
That's why his name's M, right?
Oh my God, you're right.
What a revelation!
Wait, no. But wait, the two main characters, the two actual, like really main characters of the story are A and M. A.M. All might.
Wow.
Guys, I think this takes place in the My Hero Academia universe.
I think we cracked the code.
They're all superheroes. That's why he sees spirits. That's M's quirk. in My Hero Academia gamer, like everybody's superpower is called a quirk, and
Yes.
it's like a specific personal superpower.
I do know that. That's about all I know about it, though.
Yeah. Also, All Might is like the Superman sort of analog of the series. But moving on. Hearing such an awful story from a shady ma, no matter how hard your life is, how could you live with not only the pain of killing your own child, but then treating their dead body in such a way, ... But you see, the villagers agreed, and then they did it. So a little run on, because it's like 3 lines, basically, and there's no breaks aside from like commas. However, the actual meat of my grammar acquisition in this one is, I think it should be, hearing such an awful story from a shady man, comma, no matter how hard life is, comma.
I think that should actually be a period because the no is capitalized, so it was intentionally meant to be.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, I'd accept that.
Although that entire sentence would be hearing such an awful story from a shady man. Period.
No matter how hard life is.
Yeah, so that should kind of be connected, honestly.
Yeah. Maybe should the period actually be like at the end of like no matter how hard life is, and then it goes in, and then the next sentence is, how could you live with not only the pain of killing your own child?
Yeah.
I feel like that might be where you want to have the period, and then put that comma over between man and not and no.
Yep.
Okay. And then the next thing here. So remember when I mentioned the heavy use of aliases, for better or worse?
Mhm.
So here's the quote. So you know about the uprising in the Oki Islands in the second half of the 1860s, right? It took them about a year to suppress it, but in that time, one of the people involved escaped to this village. You learnt about the reason for the revolt at school, right? Oki is very prosperous land. Well, anyway, that guy's name was Double O. And then in brackets right after the sentence, it was the same last name as mine. So I'll call him in brackets A, end bracket, end bracket. Why would you make another character essentially the same alias as you?
Imagine telling
Like-
the story vocally as well.
Oh my god.
How would? So then A did this. Wait, you're A. No,
Like-
I mean that A.
I think at this point, like, honestly, they should have just stuck with Double O, because
Yeah.
like, yes, it is the same surname as A, the present A, but up until this point, Double O has only been used to describe the past guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, honestly, it should just be Double O.
Double O, you mean?
Yeah. What?
You said double A, I think.
Oh,
He's not
I
a
meant
battery.
Double O. Yeah. No, he's a double agent. Double O.
Ah,
He's the original. He's the OG Double O.
that's why he doesn't have a number.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
Double O.
Oh. But yeah, so honestly, that whole thing, what I'm trying to get at is the aliases were really annoying sometimes.
Yeah.
And it seems like I wasn't the only one who thought they were annoying from you guys.
Yes.
Like, I'm fine with like the aliases because like they're obviously trying to like stop they don't want their identities or like the name, like the location of where they live to be like identified. Like, I get that, but like there's got to be a better way to give you. There's got to be better aliases than like the way they were doing it in the story.
Yeah. Literally just use names that aren't the actual name.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
pick a town that's like across the freaking country.
They even do that with because Yoshido is not the name of the village when it's being mentioned in the history story, or in the story. Like they say it's like I'm gonna use Yoshido for the family that rules the village and also the village's name. But it's not the actual name of the village.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I know like it uses Double O, but like we've also seen O being used as the name of the mountain and like the region. So
That's why
yeah,
it's Double O, because he really wanted to use O.
Yeah, or he was just really uncreative with like what other letters he can use. Like,
Dude, there's
he
only
could've
like
gotten
6
Z in there.
letters in the entire alphabet. Yeah,
I
so you have to
guess.
double up on them.
Yeah. There's no love for Zed,
No.
except in that really shitty novel, Warm Bodies.
Hey, there is a Lord Zed, so.
Oh, that's true.
Mhm.
Also, not a shitty novel. I don't know about the novel, but I know the movie was pretty bad.
Co-star. Anyways, let's continue.
Yes. And that's the end of my grammar acquisitions. So, Mikey, the E stands for evil. Take it away.
I'm going to continue with the acronyms or whatever. So the spot where it starts is, I'm going to call my friend from the shrine M, the girl who came late S, and myself A. M's girlfriend I'll call K. And then later, M said, no way, this can't be, no way, what should I do, Dad's out today. Me. Who the heck is me?
Yeah, right? Yeah,
It
he
should
does that a
be
couple of times
A.
too. Yeah, it should be A there, and then like later, when he says like that's me, by the way, it should be A.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that was my biggest thing. Like you just established the aliases and you messed it up. Like not that far away. I didn't even have to scroll
Yeah,
to see the mess up.
yeah, you've already fucked up. Yeah, yeah.
And then just make sure other thing here. Yeah. Okay. So I have a conjunction junction.
Ooh. And next stop, conjunction junction. Doot, doot.
So one day we decided to go out drinking and met up at my house first. But every now and then he starts to tremble like this. It was a cube about 20 centimeters long. So this was what she meant on the phone when she mentioned puzzles. It was made up of small wooden blocks like Tetris pieces. It sounded like some kind of prayer or incantation, but he repeated it 5 or 6 times. It sounded more like a recitation than an incantation. It really did sound like he was reciting a poem or something. So that's the end of the strange experience I had. It even became an independent thread. But he probably thought there was no point in hiding that much. So, after speaking to M, the four of us are going to meet tomorrow, and I don't know if K will actually come. But I don't want to do anything to lose my friends, so if one of them wants me to stop posting about it, I will. It's going to be disgustingly long. It was a rather long conversation, so summing it all up will take some time. It's just like you would imagine, I think. It might be rude to say, but it seems difficult to believe that villagers who couldn't even read and write would be able to come up with all this. It had to be the work of A. It was forbidden for any of the parties to speak to each other about the boxes. It's clearly something taboo and something the villagers wouldn't want outsiders to know. But M said there are still 2 boxes left. It might be silly to ask for information concerning how little I've given out, and I'm sorry. But if you know anything, please let me know. Finn.
That was so streamlined. Like there's things that you that were left out, but like honestly, that kind of got the for the most part got the gist out of the story.
Yeah.
Love how there's a box. The guy's suddenly doing incantations and recitations of poems,
Yeah,
and then that's the end of the strange experience I had. It became an independent thread.
and then we had a very long, disgustingly long talk about it. Like not even about the box, about the thread.
Yeah, of course.
And like it complete like you there's no it's or like or and its ends or buts at the beginning of the sentences for the JSON stories. So we hear nothing about JSON in this entire thing. It just and then like because you didn't do the brackets A, you referenced A, it was all A's fault.
Yep.
in the past. A's a time traveler. That's the dark secret about this whole thing is like the narrator who's posting or the OG poster is actually a time traveler and he still has that first box of death.
What a twist.
It could, well, I mean, it could be he could be the villain, or it could be a redemption thing where he's like gone back. He realized the errors of his ways. And now he's gone back to he's time traveled back into the future. He's Marty McFly. He's Japanese Marty McFly. And he's trying to stop. Something's got to be done about his kids, and his kids being the ones that are in the box.
Mm-hmm.
I'll stop right now. This is getting way too dumb.
That could be actually the plot of the movie, though.
Yeah.
Although a little bit more horror-centric than the other Back to the Future movies, just saying.
Yeah, it's like, M, what's up? It's like, it's a kid's mom. It's a kid's A. Something's got to be done about your kids. We got to go back to the future.
Yes.
Remember when I said I was going to stop because it was getting too dumb?
Yeah. And then
But
I secretly wanted you to continue, and you did, so thank you.
Yes, that was your trap card.
Yes. But anyways, for those unaware, Mikey does these little mini stories, or sometimes not so many, highlighting all the sentences in the story that start with words that they shouldn't, like it's, and, or buts, because there's always better words.
However, the story didn't have a whole lot, which I was actually kind of surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wasn't actively looking for them while I was reading the story, but as soon as like Mikey came out, I've got a conjunction junction. I was like, oh, here we go.
Yep, I saw a couple along the way. Yeah,
I don't look at them when I'm reading a story.
It's not our job.
Yeah, that's Mikey's
Mm-hmm.
cross to bear.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm guessing since you did your conjunction junction, that's all you got there, Mikey.
Yep.
All right, gamer.
Okay, I'm gonna lead once more with the abbreviations. I was gonna chime in, but I'm like, this is a big enough issue that we should bring it up 3 times.
Okay. Yeah. So whoever's listening to this will remember.
Yeah.
That's what you do when you want somebody to remember things. You say something 3 times.
Indeed. So, as soon as I saw that, the part where it's like, I'm going to call my friend this and the girl this, I'm like, okay, this is not going to get annoying fast. That's like immediately what I thought in my head. And again, why not pick actual false names that start with those letters? Like, hell, if they want to make 100% damn sure that the names aren't even close, pick American names. Like something completely so disconnected from them that it can't possibly be connected back to them, whether or not they start with the same first letter or not.
Like, I got you. I'll call myself Joe.
Yeah.
I'll call my friend Kyle. I'll call his girlfriend Jasmine, and the girl that was coming over, Sarah.
Of course, because there has to be a Sarah.
Yes, that was literally the whole, like, that was what that whole thing was leading up to. For me. It was just like, gotta throw in the Sarah because it's an S name.
Yes. But yeah. Also, as soon as they started naming everyone like that, it made me really envision that all the characters as Japanese MIB agents.
Oh my god, they're all wearing just the suits and like got the sunglasses on
all the time. Yeah. Yes.
Also, I have to ask. I'm not to cut into your segment here, but I do need to ask. When it kept bringing up Jason, because Son is an honorific for like for somebody in Japanese, but whenever you were reading Jason in the story, did you keep thinking Jason?
No. But now I can't help but not think it.
You're welcome. Because, like, honestly, every time I kept, like, saying it and, like, reading it, I was just like, Jason. I was like, that could definitely just been changed to Jason.
Yep. Then when they destroy the shed, he, like, goes to his garage, grabs a hockey mask and a machete.
Or and then like S's father is just like Jason.
Yeah. Hitting the Jason button real hard.
Yeah. Good old Heavy Rain reference.
But yeah, also, like after reading that, the next sentence down, as soon as like I started actually reading them using it, I was not. But my previous assumption that I would be annoyed was justified because of how annoying it was to start reading through it. Like I had to keep going back At the start of my notes, I made a list of all the characters to try to keep them organized. There's A, the original poster narrator, M, the friend who's a priest, K, who's M's girlfriend, S, who is the girl who came late. There's also M's father, M's grandfather. They're also brought up. The current poster doesn't have a name. There's S's father, S's mother, S's grandmother, S's grandfather, S's neighbor who is J, 00, which is also known as bracketed A. There's the T household, the O shrine as well, and there's also Mount O as a location. Are you confused yet?
Yes. I think in my actual thoughts, I have something about T, because but yeah, T was the worst, I think, offender for me.
Why?
Honestly. Because he came out of nowhere.
All of these came out of nowhere. Some of these characters don't even show up and they're named.
Okay, apparently I'm saying it now. So my issue with T is they just started referencing this character T, but there's no brackets of to explain why who T is. Like they've said in previous they've given us the brackets and give us a little bit of clarification, except for T, and it's not until a couple of paragraphs, almost an entry later, we discover that T is actually their neighbor across the road.
Man, here's another reason I hate this. I tried finding this instance of you bringing up T, so I did a search for T, and there's 3,259 instances of the letter T.
Okay, that's because it's a story with letters.
I know,
gamer.
I know, but God, that's terrible.
I actually I can find it pretty fast. I think.
I think a household might work.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think the first time it's mentioned is Jason's story. It's I should explain about the box first, I guess. Both the S, J, and the T house across from us have been looking after the Chippo, and then that's yeah. So, and actually, that one actually is not the first instance. That is when it clarifies who T is, because earlier it brings up T. Yeah, it's
chances are it was either your house or T's house.
Yeah,
that's before that.
Or according to the according to the ledger. Yeah, there's even another. According to the ledger, within 1 year, the box moved from T's house to S's house to J's house. Who the hell's T?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll give you that one. I thought the first mention of it was when they was talking about the different households. So yeah, okay, you're fine.
Yeah, I'm justified with my annoyance at T.
Yeah,
Mr. T.
Goddamn T.
That's who T is. It's just he's a Nat Elf Mohawk across the road.
Yeah. But with this whole abbreviation thing, even if they really wanted to stick to their guns to this abbreviation, why not pick letters that are connected to what the people are? Like maybe they're actually the first letters of their names, fine, but that makes it confusing. Like, for example, if M was the person who's posting all this, that's me. That's a way to connect it to it. Then his friend would be F, because that's his friend. His friend's girlfriend would be G, because that's the only girlfriend referenced. The girl who showed up late, she's L, because she's late. Yeah. It would be way easier to connect. I had to go through probably 3/4 of the story, constantly going back, because I kept forgetting who was who.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I'm done.
No, you legitimately, you are justified.
Yeah.
Yep.
You were seen, gamer.
Okay, good. God damn. So I'll move on. This is actually sort of still related to this. But this is the first one that really showed how ass this was. It's a line by M saying, "It's not that. A, this is not good. S-Chan, are you for real?" So he could just be saying, he could just be improperly starting a sentence, because it's just A, like the letter A, which can very easily be used in a sentence, like A this and A that, talking about nouns.
Had a couple of times. A, is it a verb? Yeah, it's a verb, right? For A? Or no, it's not a verb. It's a noun.
No, it's a...
I know words. I know English.
Verb is an action word. A noun is a subject. In this story, A is a subject because A is a person.
Yeah.
But the letter A to describe something is not those things. It's another thing. which I totally know. Is it an adjective? No, I don't know. Why would you even search this?
I'm literally looking up because a and the are like those kind of words.
It's apparently called an article.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So it's an article. We knew what it was. We just didn't know what the word was.
Yes. Put simply, an article is a word that combines with a noun. Articles are actually adjectives. Oh, so I was partially right, because they describe the nouns that they precede. That is what my first Google search says. From scribendy.com. Anyways, that's actually the end of my grammar in yellow because everything else was talked about.
Oh, okay.
Technically, what I said was talked about as well, but I at least added some extra wrinkles to it and ways to improve it.
Okay. So now I suppose we'll move on to actual thoughts. And I'll start with this one. M. Okay, I'll do it. If it goes wrong, you'll need to perform the purification ritual. Do the purification ritual, M. Otherwise, my father will have to do it. Ugh. Sorry, that's not part of my notes. I just like reading that. I was like brought that up, like dredged that from my mind. Mm-hmm. I'm counting on you. M hung up the phone. Okay, so yeah. M hung up the phone, then bawled his eyes out for the next few minutes. With his chest heaving from the sobs, he sat down, Seiza style, and said, "Okay, let's do this," and slapped his own knees. He was no longer crying. He was ready to do whatever he needed to do. M. A. Get me a box cutter or knife, would you? Me. That's stupid. Say A, not me.
Yeah.
Me. What are you gonna do? So, yeah, after overhearing like that kind of phone call, like on like the one side of that phone call that's happening, and observing my friend's reaction, get me a box cutter or knife, would you? Is the last thing I want to hear from a bewildered friend who is acting like that. like yeah, the whole like start of the story is like really like I actually really enjoyed the kind of like sort of out of context or like the sort of out of context horror of like one of your friends suddenly just gets triggered by something and goes like almost Manchurian Candidate style, like just like the box arrives and your friend just starts freaking out over this box that your other friend has brought over, and then like calls his dad, starts talking very cryptically about like some kind of purification thing, and then like gets like starts bawling his eyes out, starts like acting really bad and really weird, and then like mans up and like review cultist, hand me a knife. I was like, why? Like that is not what I'm going to give you. after seeing that.
Yeah. Also, I'm surprised
maybe
he didn't go like he slapped his knees and he's like, "All right, let's do this." Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah, I probably should have. Yeah, that's definitely something I would have done, but I didn't.
Also, really old. That kind of shows our age by doing that.
I mean, yeah. But moving on to the next thing here. M stuck his blood-covered finger inside her mouth. M. S-chan. Drink. Even if it tastes awful, you need to drink it. S. Ah, gah, gah. Did we really need to have dialogue, like a dialogue bit for S-chan choking down blood? Like, yes. Couldn't it have simply been a descriptive sentence as the reaction? Like, she choked, like she gargled and choked down the blood, like as M put it, like kept his bloody finger in her mouth. Like, I feel like it almost kind of it was almost a little bit comical of like S. Go.
And you say like, couldn't that have been described? Yes, but also couldn't they have had normal names? Yes. That's gonna be my like my connection to everything.
Yeah, it's gonna be your retort. Is just like they could have also had they also really could have had proper names.
Mm-hmm. If they couldn't do this, why did you expect that they could do that?
Yeah. And then we have this here. So M. Notenjo, Norio, Shinmei Wato, Akemashita, Kashiko mo Ikan Shikonomi Momatsu. So I apologize for that, for saying, or if I definitely got that last bit wrong, especially. And then it sounded like some kind of prayer or incantation, but he repeated it 5 or 6 times. It sounded more like a recitation than an incantation. So I decided to Google it, as is my way, like Google Translate. And this is what I got from the translation from Google Translate. So take that with a grain of salt. Opened with the ceiling, glue, and Shinmei rock. The wise Mandarin orange preparation also wears.
Okay. Probably
Again,
not accurate.
again, Google Translate, but yeah, that was what I got when I Googled, when I copied and pasted that incantation or recitation into Google Translate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it's wrong. I'm sure it's off, but it made me chuckle a little bit when I saw just how just the random word garbled. If somebody who actually speaks Japanese would like to give us a proper translation, I would love to hear it, like in the comment section below, or read it rather. And then the next thing here. I live way out in the countryside, so please stop trying to find where I live. If a huge influx of tourists came now, it would be terrifying. Ah, yes, the true horror and fear of this story: doxing yourself. Which, honestly, a valid concern a lot of the time when it comes to like a horror story that's using real places and real people, supposedly. Like, again, you look at the Blair Witch Project, when they used they used Burkittsville in Maryland, which was formerly Blair. And after that movie came out and made tons of money and like huge fandom about it and stuff, people flocked to the town of Burkittsville for better or worse. Like, some of the townsfolk made bank by selling like rocks and sticks and stuff from their hometown because people were willing to buy it. But a lot of the people living there didn't like how so many people from outside of town were just showing up on Moss looking for the Blair Witch Project, or looking for the Blair Witch. So it's a thing that can happen, especially if like you make a horror series. If you do this like horror project online and it gets big, people become your fans and want to know more about you and more about like the situation of like, or. And I'm guilty of it as well when it comes to locations. Like, if I hear there's an actual location that was used in a horror story, I want to know about that place. I want to go there. So, yeah, it can be a bad thing. There can be some good out of it, or there can be some harmless good out of it. But most of the time, unfortunately, with the toxicity of the internet, it can be a really bad thing.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
I can definitely understand why this person went anonymous with like their names and stuff like that. It's just the way they used it, they went with an anonymity in the story kind of was confusing. Like we keep saying for the 4th time. But I'll move on to the next thing here. M. Now, Jason, if the box was in your house, of course there was no way that S's father would know about it. That I can understand. S's grandfather received the box from the T household and then died shortly thereafter, right? According to the ledger, within 1 year, the box moved from T's house to S's house to J's house. S's grandfather didn't have time to tell his son about the box. That we can understand. And it was at this point that I was like, wait, there are some plot holes in here. So, first off, S's grandfather is with them, like right at, like, according to according to the paragraph earlier, right before the entry when the contractors came to demolish the shed starts. There is a mention of like all the people that are meeting up at S's house, and it gives like S's father, S's S's father, S's mother, S's grandmother, S's grandfather.
Okay. So
But
it's
S's
shambling
grandfather
corpse
is
now.
yeah. So there's a ghost. There's an Unryu in the or just a ghost in the house in the room.
It's normal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's not even the house. It's just it's the cremated ashes of grandfather. We're in the
His
room as well.
ghost might actually be there, because right at the start of this story was about how M can actually like see ghosts and A doesn't believe him because he doesn't see ghosts.
Shit.
So he might
Well,
have actually been there.
I would have loved if like M brought that up. Like it's like and grandfather's here and like grandfather's just in the corner just nodding because he doesn't he like nobody else can see him and he can't really talk. He's just kind of like nodding in sort of frustration or in like agreement with M's statements and such.
Yeah, like that whole plot point that he can see ghosts and he can't went absolutely nowhere. He was just dropped and that's it.
It's used at the beginning of the story because he can see the evil and like the presence of the box, but then afterward it focuses less on his ability to see things like his sixth sense and more on just like his family's business of being Shinto priests.
But that might not have even been his like ability to see the supernatural. It could just be because he's been taught what these boxes are. He's been taught what these boxes look like. It could just be visual. He saw the box. He knows what it is. Oh God.
True, it could be. It could have been that. I still think like it's fine the way it is at the beginning, where like he has like a sixth sense, and that's how he's able to sense the evil of the box. But yeah, you're right. It could also be that he's just like he was being trained, or he was being raised basically to deal with these boxes at a certain amount of time because there was a few more boxes that he had to deal with. So take it or leave it, I suppose, in this case. So yeah, I can take it or leave that. Like I don't think it's much of a problem aside from like it's just they drop it after the first story comes up.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing here though was my who the hell is T? Because this is the first instance of like T just getting dropped. Like there and like it does kind of say like according to the ledger, within 1 year the box was transferred from T's house to S's house to J's house. I guess that's like their like I guess they thought that was enough to like like that's why we're bringing up T. But I would have loved in brackets like to describe the significance of like who the hell T is.
Yeah.
Instead of like having to wait like a couple more paragraphs or pages to finally discover that T is their neighbor across the road that was also in on all this.
Yep, should lead with that.
Yeah. And then my next thing here, this is M talking with basically talking to J and such. This time I was able to purify the box, and if you'd just played dumb during questioning, that would have been the end of it. If by some mistake no one knew the box was in S's house, then that would have been fine. But you were impatient, and you were scared. I wouldn't even be here today if we hadn't looked at the ledger last night. We have a rule. It is forbidden for us to come here. So I want you to look past the fact that I'm here today. I have to come. I'm angry, so is my father. But we understand that having to follow an arrangement made by ancestors you've never met is also harsh. You want to run away from it. I get it. I was the same. When I saw the box that day, all I wanted to do was run away. It was only a short period of time, but I wanted nothing more than to get away from it. So I read that in that inflection because I like how M just gets all serious about this whole situation here. Like, I visualized this as an anime where the character M is getting all accusatorially and serious and expositing a problem to someone who's caused the problem.
Yeah.
Like basically like almost like a lawyer. He's suddenly like become a lawyer accusing a convicted person in court.
Because he's just saying a whole bunch of shit and there's no back and forth. It's not a conversation. It's I'm telling you this shit. Sit down and listen.
Yeah. And another thing about this is I also really like this mystery and the priest's business in maintaining and purifying these spooky boxes. Though it is also strangely vague throughout most of the story, as at the same time as to what the heck is going on. Like, they are just keeping everyone in the dark regarding the nature of these boxes, other than they bad. Like, they're bad, but let me go into all this stuff, like sort of teasing you until we finally find out why these boxes are bad.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I didn't hate it, but the meandering of this story kind of, and like the meandering of the story is sort of a double sword, because on one side, it kept me engaged because I wanted to know more about the mystery. Like, it was actually building up this mystery and like kind of teasing me with it and stuff of that throughout the story. And a lot of times, like, that's how a mystery story gets you, or like how like a show will get you with that, like building up a mystery and not giving you the exact details you want and stuff like that. At the same time, it's also kind of aggravating when just tell us why these boxes are bad and then give us the backstory about it. Like,
you're not wrong.
Yeah. But then my next one here, Jay. I should explain about the box first. Thank you. No.
I should explain it last.
Yeah. I should explain about the box first, I guess. Both the S, J, and T house across from us have been looking after the Chippo. I thought it was Shippo, but apparently it's Chippo. And here I was thinking the box contained a cute but mischievous fox demon. Shippo is a character in Inuyasha.
Oh, okay.
In the animation Inuyasha, there's a character named Shippo who's a little fox demon boy. But also, so glad I'm still on the tea house tirade here. I'm so glad we get now that T is a residence across the road from S and J's residence. Gah. All right, I'll step off my soapbox on the T residence. After T died, and then S passed on as well, I was scared. Even though I knew it had no effect on men, I was terrified of when S's father would bring me the box. But after the funeral, several days passed, and he never brought it. I went and spoke to the T family about it, and we thought it was possible that S's father didn't know about the box, and perhaps it was our chance to get away from it all. The first thing I did was ask in a roundabout way about the box to confirm whether he knew about it or not. We kept watch on the shed, and after T changed the paper talisman on the box, we planned to move away. So as Jason is like explaining, like confessing basically about like the whole situation, I was like, wow, dick move, Jay, dick move. Like, have this huge like arrangement like from that your family's been doing with these other two families, and like, because the one family, like the one person who was like in the next family didn't get a chance to give information to their family members about the arrangement. You're like, I think we can get out of this, guys. I think we leave. Like, fuck S's family.
It is kind of a dick move.
Yeah, but it keeps going with that as well. Jason got down on his knees and apologized over and over. S's father was apparently told by his father not to go near the shed, and in reality, the shed was so creepy he never thought he would go near it. Okay, so it's not necessarily Jay's fault entirely. S's grandfather kind of dropped the ball by not directly telling his son about the arrangement in the situation, but just saying, "Don't go near that shed." Like, I guess maybe he thought he'd have more time, and then like he passed away.
I was gonna say he died soon after, so I don't know if it's him being a dick.
I mean, like, as soon as he got that box, I think he should have told his son like the situation so that they keep them in the loop.
Yeah,
because like the son's gonna have to deal with it eventually, because it's like every couple of decades they have to switch these boxes. And then we get this one here. Then, when they started talking about finally tearing it down, S found the box when tidying up. S's father, mother, and grandmother couldn't believe it. But apparently, only S's grandmother understood what it was. She supposedly said, "So that's why he didn't want us near the shed." So I'm just going to mark S's grandmother as also being guilty about this whole situation. Because she knew what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So this horror story happened because because of all around negligence, which actually is how a lot of bad things happen in fiction and reality, unfortunately. Like, it's actually like, once I sat down and like, so this was all because of negligence, and then like there was like a moment where it's like ... wait, that's actually how a lot of shit happens, unfortunately. Like, that's actually not a bad reasoning for all this. It's just it leaves it like, it sort of like gives the readers like, God, this is all like, if you'd only communicated better.
Yeah.
But it's also like, like that's, there's that frustration, but it's like, also, I get it. Like, that shit happens on the regular.
Mm-hmm. So easily avoidable, but also everything is easily avoidable when hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah, that's also true. Also, from my previous statement about Shippo and like the anime Inuyasha, this honestly sounds like a plot line in Inuyasha, if I'm being honest. Like, I've recently picked that series up again because we've kind of been on a Japanese horror kick, and it has a lot of Japanese horror and like folklore in it. And there's actually an episode early on in the first season, I think, that actually has a scene where one of the Shikon jewels is in the modern day and like resurrects, like, because of the events of the series, and they have to deal with this like modern, like, in the modern day, they have to deal with one of the demons that rise up from the Shikon jewel being present. And it's kind of similar to this because it's an artifact in a dusty old shed on the shrine grounds, and the grandfather like tries to stop it, but then it goes on a literally like a murder spree through the town, consuming and eating people. So yeah, kind of a similar, and it was in like a box that was like heavily taped with incantations and protective wards and such.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, moving right along. I don't know what their motives or mental state was, but they must have been under frightful persecution. Persecution so terrible that they would kill their own children in order to have a weapon they could hold in their hands. At first, I was like, yeah, why would they do this? Like, why would they do this, such a heinous thing? But then I got to thinking about human history and the miseries we have inflicted as a people against one another, like across cultures, across the ages. Like, time and again, it's a terrible thing that we do to people, that we do to our fellow humans. And I then also started thinking about the ideas in a fair amount of horror scenarios, and even like Call of Cthulhu scenarios, and specifically because that deals with a lot of like historical stuff. When people involved with the mythos or a mythos entity and their magics are often people who have nowhere else to turn to for salvation from human misery and filth, but eldritch forces. And like, much like everywhere else in the world, Japan does have a pretty dark and bloody history. So it would make sense, like, of like people being oppressed, like whole villages being like, there was a whole, I think, period in their history that's like where like everybody was at war with each other. So yeah, it's again, like, another thing where I was like, like, why would they do this? Why would they do these blood sacrifices and like murder children to make these weapons? So it's like, you know what? Actually, that, based on like, if you push somebody hard enough, they're gonna turn to some darker shit to try and retaliate, right?
Well,
like,
yeah, but the way that I was seeing it is like doing horrible things to other people. Yeah, that's a thing that humans have been doing for a while. But doing horrible things to your own just to get back at someone else, like, to that scale, I don't know.
I can see it. I can see it. Like basically, like they're sacrificing a few to help the whole, like help the many. Because
Well,
yeah.
but as we established, that's what, over 50 children dead.
Over 50 confirmed, so it's probably over 60 or 70 total, including the
and this
girl.
is a small village, so they probably wiped out all the kids in the village to do this.
Or basically most of them.
Yeah.
Like I think they maybe got a little carried away.
I'll bet.
They just kept making boxes for like we'll just keep sending them in the mail to like that village that we really hate down the river. It's like it is weird that they made so many boxes. Maybe that's the part of the corruption of the spell or like of the ritual though. Like they got carried away, and it wasn't until one of their own died from the curse, but not like sacrificed to it, but like by an accident. It was like as they look at their blood-covered hands, like, what have we done? It's like, yeah, it is sort of like I can see why they did it, because like if you have nowhere else to turn to, yeah, you're going to turn to like if your only salvation is a demon offering you the chance to get back at your oppressors, yeah, you're going to take that if you've been like beaten down enough. And you might go to such extremes as to kill your own children to do it. But that was a lot of children.
Yeah. And it's a lot of parents. Like, you would think that with all the people in the village, somebody would say this is a bad idea.
Yeah. Now, maybe I know like historically, like not just in Japan, but in other places in the world and such. If like there's there might have been an overpopulation problem as like already. So like maybe like I know some places in history like they would call children cull children, like CULL, basically to as a way of population control. So maybe something like that was also in like in the mindset at the time as well.
Well,
I'm not condoning it, but I am saying like that's a possibility as well, like to make this reasonable.
well, the problem is with the culling children is that yes,
Tell us the one
it
thing
is
wrong.
something
Sorry.
that happened, but the thing is, most people that have children want their children to live, so they try their best to find a way around the culling.
Yeah,
because the thing is, there is an emotional attachment to children because it takes 9 months to make a baby.
yeah. And even with like things like postpartum depression and like those kind of issues that spawn up, like most of the time it is still like it this child is mine. Like there's a possessiveness to children.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, and again, it might have been like it may not have even been like we're think with that regard, like yeah, like that's sort of like a familial sort of a family based thing, or like a even like an individual sort of like situation. But I mean, like if this whole village is like no, like Bob, we need to get rid of Margaret and Bob's kid because like they're not that far. They've already got like a couple of kids. They can spare one. Like I think it might have been like boiled down to like it was a village decision, not a family decision.
What would have helped? Telling us the size of the village.
Maybe, yeah.
Because if it was a massive village, then it'd be a little bit more acceptable. But as like you were saying, it kind of sounds like they wiped out the entire population of kids.
Yeah. Well, obviously not, because enough of the villagers and family members survived to be these modern day families, because like that's what the T and like T, S, and J are all like just related to those to that village.
Yes, but depending on the size of the village, they may have culled the entire population of kids to do all this, and then just after that, they're like, "Oh, okay, maybe we shouldn't have done that. Let's have some more kids so we can actually survive."
Honestly, that's probably what happened then. So yeah.
Yeah.
Again, not condoning it, because it's just something that in history, like misery, can't spell history without most of misery. But gonna continue on here. Actually, I'm gonna bring something up that I have a little bit down. I have this quote that's kind of related to what we were just talking about. Thinking he had found an interesting new toy, the boy returned home with the box. Within a day, all the women and children in the household died. For the first time, the villagers felt true fear regarding the boxes. Who could have foreseen this truly bad thing happening?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I know they built these to fight oppression, and that's cool. Like, that's good. But when you make that many of these terrible things, like these weapons, and kill that many kids to do it, I feel like karma is gonna come knocking at your door.
A little bit.
Like, I'm not saying they deserved what happened, but they kind of deserved it once they made like more than 3 boxes.
Yeah.
Or more than the original boxes they had, because they even asked for them back from the people that they sent it to.
That's
right?
true. Yeah, they did.
So they're apparently reusable weapons.
Yeah.
Also, I couldn't help but also kind of tie this the analogy of the boy returning home with this box, like after finding this box, thinking it's a new toy, and then like everybody dying in there, to a kid finding a gun, like their dad's gun,
Yeah, pretty much.
and accidentally shooting themselves. Like it's sort of like that kind of there's parallels to that kind of I guess moral of this story.
But with the scale of this, it's like a kid finding his dad's bomb and
Yeah.
blowing up the entire house.
And with that as a segue, here's my next thing.
Okay.
Then they gave the box to the Yoshida village head for safekeeping, under the pretext of the villagers' good faith and sincerity. The Yoshida household suffered painfully. The women and children vomited blood before they died in agony. So now that we finally know what these boxes do and like why they're so terrible and what they are as a weapon, is I was basically like, so the boxes are supernatural bombs fueled by the literal souls of the damned. And to that, I was like, these boxes would actually make a really good, like plot point or plot device, for games like the SO Terrorist, where your agents trying to stop cultists and SO terrorists who are basically cultists, mad cultists that are trying to use supernatural. Using the supernatural in the mundane world to make the supernatural more prominent. So like basically like showing people that magic is real, and your agency is all about making sure that magic isn't real, because that will tear down the veil between our world and other worlds that are much worse. So I could see this being used as like in Esoterrorist as the system. You could also use this in Delta Green, where again, your agent's fighting a mythos thing, and like somebody plants a Kotoribako in like say a park and kills an entire park of kids and mothers and such.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's basically like it's like you were just saying, Gamer. It's the equivalent of somebody having a bomb. Like it's basically a bomb squad situation. Or even in Shadowrun. Sorry, Mikey. Because like that could be like you're either the people that have to like deliver this weapon, and then maybe you find out while you're delivering it that you're getting paid to deliver a bomb to some family or some target, or you're charged with stopping the bomb from being delivered. It could be used as I feel like in this instance it could be used as either a one-shot game where it's just one scenario involving the situation, or it could be even like a conspiratorial thriller kind of campaign where you're trying to stop the use of these weapons by a organization. Like you're trying to you're trying to stop you're trying to figure out who's making these weapons and who's dispersing them across different organizations, and you're trying to stop them from being used because they are clearly harmful on a level that like in our modern world probably wouldn't be traced as well. Like if you just found this box, if a modern agency found this box that had no like inkling to like the supernatural, they just think that this was some weird fucked up serial killer box. They wouldn't tie it to like the deaths of all these people, or they'd consider it like a biological weapon maybe at most.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like a biological bomb or a biological or chemical bomb, the way it kind of affects the targets.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really liked the story for giving me this idea of like having some kind of like cursed bomb or supernatural bomb that I could be used in a game. So the next thing here, the number of years each box was to be held was probably an approximation by my ancestors, depending on how strong each box was. It could be 110 years, or in the case of Chippo, or in the case of a Chippo, 140 years. There was a rule that those looking after the boxes were never to run away from them. So as Em is explaining this, and like I just imagine as soon as he gets to that part, like where it's like those looking after the boxes were not to run away from them, and just like side eyeing Jason,
Yeah.
like just like
As he's like pulling at his collar a little bit, and I'm like,
oh, yeah, exactly. Because the entire time I imagine like suddenly M got really serious and like in this conversation, and then like just has like a close up of his face, and then just side eyeing Jason, who's in the background.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on to the last note I have here. As for why they didn't look after all the boxes together, this is just what my grandfather said, but the burden for a single person would lessen the responsibility of what had been done. Having a small number of people would make sure the real burden was felt, and that they couldn't escape from it. I actually really like that reasoning. Like, sort of helps drive home the severity of what you have done. Like, again, see how many children they just killed. But like, this seems like a much better punishment than having like oh yeah, we need somebody to like weaken these boxes before we can purify them. But we're not going to leave that with one person. No. That would all of you assholes in that village did this.
Yeah.
Or like you were all privy to this heinous act. So we're going to divide up these boxes to the group of you.
Mm-hmm. It's shift work for the rest of your lives for you guys.
Yeah, basically. You know what this is? This is like the purest form of doing community service. Yeah. Like this is like supernatural feudal era, or like supernatural community service for blood for the act of doing blood magic, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the end of my notes for actual thoughts. Mikey, D stands for evil.
My one note you basically touched on, but I'll raise it again because I feel like it. So the quote, "Then, when the breadwinners of the household wanted children, they would go and have them. But with no decent wages, it was difficult to raise them, so they would kill them." Like, that one line just tells me, like, where's the community in this village?
I mean, it's a different culture, and like I know that like the overpopulation is a big thing in Japan and China. Like in that part of the world, like overpopulation it has been a big issue throughout their history. So I think that is something that is just a part of their history of having to deal with like overpopulation and such, right?
Yeah,
because like they are on an island. They're like in Japan specifically, they are on an island nation. Like food and stuff like across history has been scarce sometimes. So like it's sort of situation up like here, like in our history, like in the West with like when depressions happen and stuff like that, like you gotta cut corners, you gotta make sacrifices to like save the bulk of the family, right?
Why have kids if you're just gonna plan on killing them?
Well, I think they don't plan on like if there's a like they plan on having kids so that they can continue on as a family or as a unit. However, like they don't like sometimes if there's hard times they have to make sacrifices. Like they can't predict when the hard times are going to happen.
Hard times were already upon them though.
In some like I think it happens sometimes. I don't think it happened like I don't think they were necessarily having kids during the hard times, or like again, like human nature is also like we are made to reproduce. So sometimes it's hard to get past some of our more animal nature. So
suppose. Like it straight up does say the breadwinners of the household wanted children, they would go and have them, but with no decent wages, it was difficult to raise them, so they'd kill them.
So with that, I'm saying like the way I'm seeing that is like when the breadwinners wanted family, like basically the breadwinners are like the ones who are making the most money. They can afford more food and stuff like that. They would have kids. However, when the wages were low, or when they weren't making enough money, suddenly they couldn't afford to have these kids around. So then they had to get rid of a few.
I guess.
I think that's how I understand. Again, I'm not condoning this. I'm just like, I'm bringing it up. It's like, this happens in history. Like this happens in culture. This happens now sometimes in parts of the world. So
with all this being said, the previous line was talking about Yoshida Village and how they're assholes and they're under control of the Yoshida family and all that. And then it talks about the breadwinners and they would kill the kids. When I first read that, I didn't know if it was talking about the parents killing them or like the Yoshida family would show up and kill their kids. Because it
could honestly be both.
Yeah.
Or it could be either or. Because the head of the village is like in charge of like maintaining the village and stuff like that. So like they might have like a lottery system, like where it's like, well, we're sort of running low on food supplies. We need to get rid of some population. Or it might be the family member, like the breadwinner might be like the head of the family, like in the village, not the head of the village itself, but like one of the village like people and their family. And like they were doing well for a bit because they were getting some money. They were getting some decent money from like whatever job they were doing. But then that kind of went away for a little bit. So then suddenly they weren't on top of the world like they were.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything else on that, Mikey?
No, we've covered most of that. So
I feel like we have like really picked clean that subject.
Yeah. And that was the big thing that I wanted to talk about. So I'm done my actual thoughts.
Okay. Gamer.
Okay. Where to begin? Probably at the start. Okay. So I first read the title. I kind of wish it was going to be a creepy tale about a monster called Kotoribako, and it was taking place in the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. It's
you
Kotor.
are the gamer in yellow.
Bako.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kotoribako.
Yes. And then the next thing I saw was the art.
Actually, I'm going to stop you right now for a second, like because I'm going to continue on with the title. With the title thing, it's like game fodder wise. I kind of want to pull this into Star Wars, and like maybe I'll write a scenario for our Star Wars game over on One Less Die, where you guys find a dark a dark side artifact that's the Kotoribako. Or it's a Sith data cube, or it's just a Sith weapon, like basically a Force weapon that's used by the dark side. That is literally just Kotoribako, like the boxes from this story. But it's like all like because they're using like the Sith use blood magic and stuff like that, and like human child sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's why it basically corrupts the Force to then like have the Force subject. It subjects the living Force within like certain targets in the vicinity of the box to like suffer great pain and such.
Yeah.
So I could see this like actually like so tag that onto the other another system I can throw this into is a Star Wars game. So
surprisingly,
thank you, gamer.
You're welcome. And then with the art, first thing I saw is it's a little box that's covered in blood. So first thing I thought was, is that Tiny Box Tim after he's dead? Tiny Box Tim is a character that Markiplier made up from a very, very long time ago.
Deep fucking cut from like Markiplier's Amnesia days.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Before even reading the story, I didn't know the scale of the box, and even after the fact, it's still a relatively small box.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what makes it so like dangerous. Is like it's a small box.
Yeah, like you can put it in a backpack.
Like it has so much. Yeah, exactly. And like so, yeah, it could be in a backpack. Like a person could like have it in their backpack,
just walk around town.
Walk around. I think that I'm not sure. It doesn't really go into how long it takes for this to happen, but I think it could like again like walk with that backpack, walk into a park like where there's a bunch of kids. If you want to be like a terrorist, kind of like a horrible like psychotic terrorist kind of character, like kind of plot, and just take the backpack off, put it under the bench that you're sitting at, and then walk away.
Mm-hmm.
And then like just basically just watch from afar the horror that you create, because like that's gonna be fucking terrifying.
A little bit.
Like, oh man, that would be so like.
It seems like it's a slow thing that happens, though. It's not instantaneous. I don't think it'd be something that you'd be watching. Like he would leave it, go home, and then watch the news.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, because depending on like the potency of it, maybe it takes like only a few hours. So like a couple of hours, like kids play in park for a few hours. So.
Yeah.
God, I hate how like it's weird how I'm like saying like talking like it because it's all fiction. Like it but like sometimes I'll catch myself. It's like, man, the things we say on this show.
Yeah, it almost sounds like you're enabling.
Yeah, but it's not. No, it's not really enabling because like this is all fiction.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the first thing I thought when I saw that art. And the second thing is maybe a Minecraft creepypasta?
Oh, yeah.
It's just a wood block?
Yeah, it's... We gotta pull up the that image again. It's kind of weird because it doesn't... Like, to me, it doesn't look like a puzzle box.
I'm going to get into that.
Okay, cool. Then I'll shut up.
Okay. And the story starts. And the quote is, main story. The protagonist of this story, blah, 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 blah. So as soon as I read that, I was half hoping that Nair was going to be called the protagonist the entire time. There's a horror game called Tungulus. No, it's not good, and it does that.
Oh my god!
Where like in like on the Steam page, it says like the protagonist does this and that, and then like you load up the game, and the starting text crawl says the protagonist is in the basement of a like. It doesn't even have a name.
Damn it.
However, I do prefer this to potentially be a creepypasta and not a crappy pasta, so I'm glad that wasn't the case.
Yeah, very true.
Mm-hmm. And this next part, I was sort of confused about the inflection. Where is that part specifically? Oh yeah, okay. About 40 minutes later, S-Chan arrived. Then, at that moment, or rather, I should say, at the moment that S-Chan's car pulled into the lot outside, M said, "No way, this can't be. No way. What should I do? Dad's out today." Me. I'm going to change that to A. Actually. A. What's wrong? Can you see something again? And K says, again? So, a question there is like, why would she be saying again? Because, like, the inflection of it is like, A said, what's wrong? Can you see something again? And then K's like, again? So, K is the girlfriend of M. So, I would think that she would know that he sees shit. Because the inflection that I got from that is her being confused as to what's going on. Maybe it's meant to be like, again, ellipses, question mark, where it's like more along the lines of, oh, it's happening again? Not, what are you talking about again? You know?
I'm gonna have to disagree, because like there's a good chance that like M wanted to kind of keep it secret for the most part, like his ability or whatever, like kind of secret aside from him and his friend A. So, and maybe K's like he hasn't told K yet about his ability because he didn't want to like creep her out or wig her out about it.
Okay. Possible, but that's not said, so we don't know either way.
Well, through that inflection, like that's how it's sort of insinuated. It is made to assume, and we all know what assuming does.
Yeah, it pisses me off.
Yes.
That's what it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if that's the case and you want to do some character development here, great. Then do it. Don't just start it and then stop.
Does it not say like right after that like M hadn't told? I thought for some reason I thought it had said something along the lines
the next
of like,
line is, it's not that A, this is not good. S-Chan, are you for real? And then like K doesn't say anything for ages.
Okay, yeah. I feel like I'm with you. Then it should have explained a little bit like that. M had not told K about his abilities.
Yeah, it's just that's all I need.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one. Having said that, S-Chan took out the wooden box. It was a cube about 20 centimeters long. So this is what she meant on the phone when she mentioned puzzles. It was made up of small wooden blocks like Tetris pieces. To that, I'm like, so the art is wrong then. Because the art just looks like a wooden box with a flush fit lid on it. Not that it's made up of Tetris blocks.
Also, I'm desperately trying to find a ruler right now to see how big 20 centimeters is.
It's like 3/4 of a foot.
Would your hand? Is that hand accurate then? Or that bloody handprint accurate?
It's not too far off.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not bad, actually.
Okay. I'm just generally terrible with like sizing things up, so I wasn't sure exactly what.
And it's left-handed, so that's even better.
Okay, that's. I mean, that means the M is left-handed.
Or he's right-handed, and so he damaged his left hand because he doesn't use it.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, because he'd be using the knife in one hand, and then
He's a filthy righty.
I literally just pantomimed that with my holding a knife, pantomimed holding a knife in my right hand and slitting my left hand.
Great. Things that
now I'm bleeding with invisible blood or with imaginary blood. Oh!
I put an invisible bandage on that.
Yeah. Well, it's only like one harm, honestly.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yep.
Yeah, either way, it looks like the art was done for this story, and yet it's not accurate to what the box is.
Yeah.
Like there's blood on it, which it would have blood on it. It's a box. Mm-hmm. The sizing's right. The only thing they did wrong is it's not puzzle.
Yeah, like there should be more like lines. Yeah, there should definitely be like more lines and like pattern work to show like the Tetris like design.
Yeah, and there is a very faint line around the top that looks like a lid you could just lift off. So whoever did the art, they did the art of the woodwork and did the grain and everything, and then it probably did that after the fact. So why not just do that everywhere and make it all Tetris-y?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is a mystery to us all. Mm-hmm.
Also, the grain of it and everything, it looks like it was carved out of a single piece of wood.
It literally looks like a block from Minecraft.
Yeah, when realistically, from the sounds of it, because it's made of a bunch of different pieces, they probably just got a whole bunch of random wood and made it into the proper spots or shapes to put it together. So the grain would not be even like that everywhere. But even so, I would take even grain and a pattern, a Tetris pattern, compared to just no Tetris pattern at all, because that's important.
Yeah.
Right, so I'll move on. So the purification ritual happens, and S spat something out on the floor after it. What even was it? It wasn't like elaborated on at all. Just that she spat something out, and M's like, "Okay, you're good now."
Does it not say what it was? What the man? I'm fabricating shotguns because I thought it was like a little. Like, I immediately thought it was like some kind of little creature that she spit up that was both bloodied. Like that was in her mouth.
That might be the case, but I didn't.
But we don't. Yeah,
let me find it if I can. Open your mouth. Don't need noises. Threw up something that was covered in blood, and then M says, "It's out. Wow. It's out. All right, you're gonna be okay."
Yeah, what the hell? What was it?
He left it on the floor. Like it's still there now.
They didn't even it's still in A's house. Just he eventually cleaned it up, but we never get to see. We never get to hear about that.
So I would have liked to know what that was.
Yeah, same.
Also, like it doesn't make sense because the whole thing is just. Like with the curse, is it makes like cough up blood and you bleed from the inside and die and all that. Great. I mean, it's not great, but fine. That's what it does. So what the hell is this thing that was coughed up?
I wonder if it's maybe supposed to be like a piece of lining from her stomach that she actually spit up. Like maybe it was the curse was already starting to kind of work itself in her, so like it was starting to like basically like. That was the first bit of like of her like insides being shredded up.
I don't know.
But if that's the case, she might be in a little bit more trouble than the story's sort of like leaning into.
It really sounded. Actually, no. Because earlier, where does it say that? Earlier, actually, hang on. I think I have a note on it later. Where the hell is it? when he's on the phone. Yeah, there we go. This is when M is on the phone with his father. Yeah, it's not here. I can't see anything but the box. There's evidence it was there, but it seems to be gone now. Yeah, there's something in there, in my friend's belly, in the shape of a shipuru. So he's saying that something
in the
was
shape of a shippo.
on the box, but it's not on the box anymore. It's in my friend's belly, and he somehow knows that. I guess he sees shit.
Because he sees spirit shit. So,
so basically, something left the box and was in her, and then it was coughed out, but it wasn't elaborated on what that was.
Actually,
I guess, is it a freaking xenomorph situation where like it implants
I was thinking, like,
some creature inside that like eats your insides out? That's why you bleed to death, and then it jumps out and goes to the next person.
Or just like phases away because it's done its job, or it goes back into the box. Basically, like basically like the box is like it summons these spirit things from like these evil curse creatures that are inside the box, and like sends them out.
Disperses a bunch of chest bursters to everyone.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I'm looking here. Actually, a little bit further, he says like, yeah, there's something in there in my friend's belly. I think it's the shape of a shippo, right? There's a triangle inside, so it's like a triangular looking thing. So like maybe it's like basically like a serrated like triangle like spirit looking or like spirit creature that just like starts shredding, like just starts like
just a buzzsaw
the inside of a. Yeah, no, like legitimately, like I think that like what if that I think that's might be like what the creature is. It's not even like maybe even a creature. It's just a like that's how the curse manifests in the person, and like that's why they start coughing up blood and die and, like painfully. Is it basically just grinds in like it grinds and pulps on the inside like a blender.
It sounds like grind.
Yes, clearly. Pulp. Puree. Yeah. So I think that's honestly like that's probably what, now we kind of know or have an idea from the story what what that shape of that thing that she spit out was.
Yep. I just kind of wish we knew more, because we have to do a deep dive and read in between the lines to find out what it was.
I mean, on the one side, I'm with you on that. On the second side, I like doing that, so I'm fine with it.
We'll agree to disagree, and I'll move on.
Yes. I could just hear the venom in your voice on that. It's like, we're just gonna have to like you're like clenching your teeth. It's like, we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on this one.
Yeah. Although okay. The other thing is, no one questions the fact that he's saying this shit on the phone. Like, he straight up says like, yeah, there's something in there in my friend's belly, and S is just sitting there like, yep, yep, okay,
S is like, excuse me?
Like, no one's like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's no characters. It's just M saying shit, and then stuff happens. There's no one has any personality. No one is questioning things. No one's like, especially when he's like, get me a knife, and he starts like cutting his fingers. Like, okay, you have to tell us what the hell's going on first.
Well, and then he does like that. That's when J. Oh, that's when not J. That's when A says like, "Why do you need the knife?" Like kind of thing. But see, I took it as like they're all like in shock of like, why is he acting like this? Like because like that's how I would like honestly that I've seen that happen when like something happens on the phone, like and somebody's like frantically talking on the phone. Everyone else in the room is quiet and like either intently listening in or just being really still because like there's something going down on the phone. Like, so I can kind of see, I understand with what you're going from. Like, I think this story could also use like a couple of descriptions of like how everybody's reacting that way rather than just have that being assumed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
But okay. Yes. This is continuing into my next notes. That's why I'm continuing. Okay. Yes, but that would make sense if there was no time. If he's like, there's no time, I can't tell you, I have to do this right now. Then, okay, fine, I'll tell you after. Like, whatever, that's fine. But
yeah,
this happens, like, M freaks out, calls his dad, takes several minutes after the call to collect himself. And in that time, like, none of the others question him about what's going on. A lot of time is passing in silence of people just sitting there. Like, the other characters are basically cardboard cutouts. They're all NPCs waiting for the PC to interact with them at this point. And then like M breaks down into tears and like K's trying to console him. For 20 minutes, he cried his eyes out. And then the four of us all ended up crying together. The whole time M made sure not to make contact with the box. All this is happening, and all I'm thinking is, what are we crying about? What's going on? Why can't you say anything? Like, yes, as a reader, I want to know what's going on. But me trying to like get in the head of A, it's like I don't know what's going on. What am I crying about, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's no exchange of information happening, especially with how grave apparently everything is. I understand if he's freaking out, fine. But this is a span of probably 30 minutes total, including him freaking out and the phone call. And in that time, no information was shared. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Okay. Moving on from there, finally. Which is kind of in the same vein. That seems to be my thing today. My dad took it there, and they've taken care of it. This is after the purification. You're better off not knowing anything else about it. He looked like he didn't... All right, then out of the quote. He looked like he didn't want to talk about it anymore. No matter how much I asked him about it, he wouldn't tell me anymore. He just said one final thing. Inside the box is hatred itself. But yeah, there were quite a few things in there, like fingertips, umbilical cords. So basically, I'm not going to tell you anything, but I will tell you some things.
I'm not going to tell you what's in the box, but I'm going to tell you what's in the box.
Like, what?
Yeah, it was kind of wishy-washy on like I guess like some time, like this had been over the course of like a bunch of time, like of him like pestering him, but it should have like said like eventually he confessed, or eventually he relented and gave me some information.
Yeah, if it was like a 5-hour car ride and eventually he broke him down, fine. But it sounds like a minute later, he's like, fine, inside is this.
Yeah.
But he didn't even say fine. See, if he said fine, inside the box is hatred itself, that's like, okay, fine, you win. But he just says it.
Yeah. That is kind of annoying.
I kind of wish it's like, he'd be like, you're better off not knowing anything about it. He looked like he didn't want to talk about it anymore, blah, blah, blah. He said one more thing. If you really want to know, I'll tell you when this is all over. If he said that, cool, that's fine. That's reasonable. He just like snaps and tells him. It's kind of weird. And I'll move on. After that, the next section is later developments. No, I did not technically space these out by section, but I just kind of did that just for pacing. Either way.
Meant to do that in my notes, and I gave up. And I completely forgot about it.
Well, honestly, in this sort of format, I would not recommend sectioning out like that, because they're quote-unquote small sections. Some of them are. So doing it for everything is annoying. Regardless. After posting his story, the thread became extremely popular. So the original poster added to his story. And then, so at this point, I'm thinking, you weren't the original poster? You have been thus far.
I think this is supposed to be Kawabana, or the translator.
Okay.
Were you going to say
that?
that?
So like, I suppose this is being posted online by someone who isn't A then. Like A posted this, because early on it says like, I want to tell this story, but I have to tell it somewhere here, otherwise you won't otherwise you won't believe me. Making it sound like, okay, he's posting this on a creepypasta related thing. So to me, it's thinking, okay, A is posting this on Kawabana or on whatever.
Well, on whatever blog.
Yeah. So, okay, then all these words are this poster doing it. But then at this point in the story, after reading the main chunk of the story, I find out, no, this is being posted by someone else now. There's another character being added to this. At least they don't have an abbreviated name, because they have no name.
I'm going to have to stop you here, because I'm looking at that bit right now, and there are not brackets. There's like a different type of bracket around that. Yeah, the square brackets are around that section. So I think that's differentiate that, like Kawabana is adding a little insert here to give further like context to what's going on, what's about to happen.
I suppose.
So, yeah. So I think that's just basically an editor's note sort of thing of like from the for this translated version of the story we're reading.
I guess.
Yeah.
Fine.
I mean, you can still be pissed off about it, but
Oh, I will. Don't worry. So then we get on to M's story. I was a little worried about Kay, but she didn't touch the box for very long, so she should be fine. If push comes to shove, I can take her up to see my father, so it's all good. I guess he's saying this to A.
Yeah.
My question there is, when did she ever touch the box? As soon as S brought into the house, M told everyone not to touch it, and he was constantly freaking out.
Yeah. I think, like, it's A that gives him the bath towel to wrap around, like, to wrap the box around his hand, right?
Yeah. I double checked.
doesn't-
The only person who touched the box was S and M.
Okay. Then yeah, it is sort of weird.
Yeah, at this point, I'm thinking, okay, it kind of feels like this was just said to give fodder or potential fodder for her to have a problem later on in the story. I'm glad that didn't happen, because I would have been like, okay, called it. But also, Kay was a useless character, to be honest.
Yeah,
In a story with way too many characters that are way too hard to keep track of, what did Kay do?
She literally just, like, she was in the background and M's girlfriend. That's it.
Oh, she wasn't. She's not the girlfriend. She's just someone who showed up late.
No, that's S.
S is the girlfriend, isn't it?
No,
Oh.
S is the girl. S was the girl who was late. K is M's girlfriend.
God, I hate these fucking abbreviations.
As we've said before, for the last time, for the first time, for the last time.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So S is the late one,
Yes.
and K is the girlfriend. Regardless, she did nothing.
Yes. K honestly didn't need to be in the story.
No.
I mean,
how many lines did she actually have? She questioned that one time,
One.
being like, again, and then that's
she had
it.
a total of one. Yep. Now, to sort of like counter you a little bit about you're like, oh, like why was she in danger? She didn't touch the box. We do find out later that the box doesn't. You don't necessarily need to be touching the box for it to affect you. If you're either a child or a woman who's of age to bear a child.
But M also says she didn't touch the box for very long, so she should be fine. So does he not know?
Yeah, there's my counter to counter because he does say that she didn't touch the box, so she's fine. But like apparently that's not necessary. Like as we find out later in the story.
I guess. Yeah.
That's a little bit of a plot hole.
Yeah, a little bit. Also, again, there was no it didn't happen. She didn't touch it. You're just saying she touched it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll move on.
Yep.
I think this is also M talking, because M does most of the talking in this. When either of them speaks of the boxes, they are seriousness itself. I really like that wording. It's one step away from, guys, I'm seriously, okay? Or, I'm super serial.
Wow. I was going to say it borders like at first you think it's a typo, but no, it actually does make sense.
They are serious.
And it's actually a cool way of saying it.
Yeah.
Seriousness itself.
I am the embodiment of seriousness right now.
Just like,
I am seriousness incarnate. I am shit just got real incarnate.
Yeah, pretty much. Then M is saying this to S and J. We have a rule. It is forbidden for us to come here. So I want you to look past the fact that I'm here today. I had to come. Why not ask them to meet in town or something? Like, I hope there's a reason that he had to go to the house. Spoilers, there wasn't. Because he just went to the house to tell them information. He didn't do anything when he was there. So they could have just went to a freaking Starbucks, hung out, and talked.
yeah, or they could have all met at the shrine.
Yeah,
where
or in
his
the middle of a
family
park
is,
if they
like-
want privacy. Like, if he's forbidden to go to the house, why go to the house?
Yeah. I think it was like, it's like to show like this situation was so severe that like we had to break our rule to have this conversation here. But that I mean, that sounds cool in theory, but like the way you're proposing it, it does kind of stupid.
And why isn't the rule? It's forbidden for us to talk to you about this because, like, they want as few people to know about it as possible.
Yeah,
and that'd be fine. It doesn't matter where they talk because they're talking.
Yeah.
Anyways,
and I mean, if we're going by that logic, A is breaking all the rules right now by posting this story online.
yeah, and M is also breaking the rules by saying that it's okay to do that because he asked his permission.
Well, his excuse was no one's going to believe you anyway.
Yeah,
and I mean that's half the time that's the reason for like how can we tell Delta Green stories or how can we run Delta Green games in the modern day? It's like because skeptics.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because mass skepticism is a thing.
Mm-hmm. So then we get into Jay's story. He starts saying all this stuff. We kept watch of the shed, and after T changed the paper talisman on the box, we planned to move away. And the other parties would think, that family is finished with the box now. Why wouldn't they just talk to the M family? Like, they seem to run this whole thing. If it's dangerous, they could be planning to do a lot of harm to people by doing this, which is kind of what almost happened.
Yeah. Like, again, this entire thing is because of negligence.
Yeah.
And selfish, actually, and honestly, not just negligence, selfishness. Like, Jay was too afraid to, Jay was afraid of the box. He didn't want to take on the responsibility. So he'd rather run away and let the S family suffer than have to deal with it himself.
Mm. Like, they knew about the M family and everything, so, like, why didn't he even attempt, to be like, I don't know if I want to do this, I can't do this.
Yeah.
He's just like, no, I'm just going to bail.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just gonna move.
Mm-hmm. Then we kind of talked about this, like Yoshida Village shows up and it says, place name alias. That's the way that they should have been doing all the aliases.
Yeah, like, honestly, I would have been fine if it had been like, yep. These are all different names. All these names have been changed.
Yep.
So
people of the village were already under heavy burden and thinking he would bring more trouble. They tried to kill him. This is in regards to bracket A. Bracket on bracket A, yes. Or double O, yes, there you go. But then,
as I like to call him, the mystery man from Oki Islands.
Mm-hmm. Then Double O said to him, if you help me, I'll give you a weapon. The weapon was a small box, or more accurately, how to make the box. And the villagers asked him what type of weapon it was. He explained everything, and they agreed to his conditions. Of course, the story being what the story is, it's not explaining to the reader anything. It's just saying that he explained everything. So, That being said, why would they agree to this? It hasn't been explained, the purpose of the box, or how to just like how to maintain and cleanse it. So, as the people of this village, why would you agree to this? I know we kind of touched on this, but why would you why? That many kids that you have to kill, and at the end of it, it's basically just to take out one family's worth of kids and children, of children and women to get the bad guys out, and then they get their town back. Great. But like the amount they had to sacrifice is just ridiculous.
Like, if it had been one box, if it hadn't been like 16 boxes that they made, if it had only been like one box, I could, with confidence, like chalk this all up to like the desperation of an oppressed people.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of get greedy, or like they kind of get corrupted, or something, or just like,
I can't say greed, because like, what are they even getting out of making more?
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't know what. Basically, they just get dumb and make more of these weapons.
Yeah, they become Derpland.
This is the inception of Derpland.
Yeah, origin story of Japanese.
Derpland. This is Euro Derpland.
Yeah,
the Japanese version of Derpland.
Pretty much. And like in regards to the cleansing of it, cleansing of S's box is really weird. Now that I think about it. Because it was supposed to be watched for another 19 years, and then the M family would take it, and they would cleanse it. How is it just taken care of now because of a 5-minute ritual that M did? Why didn't they do that with all of them right now?
I think it's a safety protocol situation. Like, they had like another 19 years, and it could have been safely, like, with no rush, no like with the proper preparation and like OSHA standards of the Supernatural Task Force, they could have in all seriousness though, like I think it was honestly like a super like a they another 19 years and it would the box they wouldn't have had to like be so rushed and like with uncertainty from like with dealing with it. Whereas like because S found it and brought it over to and M just happened to be there luckily, that it was sort of a rush job and they were uncertain as to like the outcome of if they had properly purified it or not until they got back to the shrine and stuff. So I think it's honestly like and again like they were like this is all stuff that was given to them, like instructed to them a century and a half ago by their ancestors.
Okay.
So like it might not have been entirely accurate, but like they basically to be on the safe side, it could be like another 19 years and you would have been fine.
Well, we don't even know if that is specifically the ritual to cleanse the box that they would have done at the end of its lifetime. This is just what they had to do because there was an outbreak of it, like an infection on someone. For all we know, they take the box after 19 years and it doesn't directly affect you, but then they do some other ritual. So like this seemed like an emergency ritual just to get the thing out and save the person. And in doing so, it also cleanses the box. Maybe it's the same thing that they do. They infect someone and then cleanse them, and that's how you do it. But that being said, why didn't they just do this 50 years ago? Grab someone, infect them with the box, cleanse them and the box is done.
Because it needs to be weakened.
Yes.
Like that's the thing. The box at full strength is too strong to be cleansed.
Yeah. So I think again it was a safety protocol they were following from their ancestors.
I don't know. Okay. A guy who wasn't even trained to do it did it over the phone 19 years early.
He was raised like in that like within that group and like taught how to do it. He wasn't like a professional of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like that's why we have a story here is because like he had to risk, like it was a lot more risky because he had to do it and such. Is all I'm thinking is going on with the story. So
I think there would be more of a story if he failed though.
True, it would have been interesting. Well, it would have been a much darker story if it had failed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see it being a little bit more. It would be a little bit more long. It would be a little bit more involved and interesting, for sure. Because we'd actually get more. We'd actually find out a little bit more of the deeper workings of the arrangement and like what the Shinto priests do and such.
Mm-hmm. Like it's just basically too easily taken care of, in my opinion.
Okay.
Then it describes the box a little bit, saying next, the inside of the box is filled with blood of a female beast. Then, after waiting a week, a lid is put on before the blood has dried out. Wouldn't the blood just seep out through all the cracks, like long before the week is up? It's a Tetris cube.
Yes, however, I have seen some of these like puzzle boxes and stuff that, or like these puzzle constructions that have been made, and they do actually like seal tight. So
like watertight.
Yeah, like and like with no adhesives or anything. They just like it's actually pretty astounding. Like sometimes like some of these have been used. Like this puzzle technique has been used to like create a bed with no adhesives or screws or anything like that, and it supports the weight of a person sleeping on these beds. Despite that, like it's like this weird, intricate, arcing like support beams and columns and stuff that on the bed. And then similarly, like these things have been made to like they're sealed, they're positioned tight enough and like using their own like kind of tensile strength to seal them closed.
But this also raises another question. It says like you wait a week and then before the blood's dried out, you put a lid on it. It's not supposed to have a lid specifically. It's a puzzle. Like how does the puzzling function work? Like the mechanics of it. From the sounds of it, it's just like the image on the top. It's a wood open square, and you just pop the top on and it's done. That's the way that line says. Yeah, maybe there is more to the puzzle, like for like sealing it. Like what, like the lid will go on, but then like you have to like switch. You can actually like change the puzzle pieces slightly to like lock it in place. Maybe I just wish that was described.
That's fair.
The puzzle thing basically dropped.
Yeah. Are you going to cover the next part of this where it's like after the blood from the beast, there's suddenly then like the bits of the people in the interior of the box is put in?
No?
Oh, really?
What?
Hang on, I got to pull that part of the story now.
Like talking about like the end of their finger and the umbilical cords and intestines and stuff?
Yeah, where is that in the story?
You look for tip.
Yeah. So here it is. Yeah, so a lid is put up on before the blood has dried out. Then the next paragraph. Next is the interior. This is the origin of the name Kotoribako. And I was like, wait, so the box is filled with blood of a female beast, and then you wait a week and then close the lid. Next is the interior.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like this isn't laid out like this is the order that it's done. Like
yeah,
it's out of order. This interior stuff should be put on before it says like all the stuff is put in, and then the box is sealed and locked with the puzzle. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring it up until you like brought up the blood stuff, and I was thought you might go into that.
Mm-hmm. So my next question is just when I was reading through this, like, is anyone going to talk about what happens if you open the box or if you just try to smash it? Like, there's all this rigmarole to weaken and cleanse it because they're quote unquote too strong. But why? Like, why won't a mundane destruction work? If you smash it with a sledgehammer, won't the box cease to function?
Generally, in occult stuff, breaking the physical vessel does not stop it. It'll just unleash the curse in an uncontrolled way.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. Simply destroying the physical vessel will not stop the curse. It'll make it worse in most cases.
Mm-hmm. Like the physical puzzle box is just there to contain it somewhat,
and sort of like disperse the curse in a controlled manner.
Mm-hmm.
I.e., it only like who knows? Maybe destroying it, like destroying the box or breaking the box and opening up the curse to the air, doesn't basically it removes the lattice work of the spell or the curse. So then suddenly it's not just affecting like the children and women and childbearing women. It's now affecting everything.
Yeah, like the men, animals, plant life. Just wipes out the planet.
Yeah,
that'd be a problem.
Or like a very large region.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember, partially because we don't have a timeline. So I don't know why I'm asking this, but I'm going to ask it. How long was it between them cleansing the box and them sitting down to have their story time?
At least 2 or 3 days.
Okay,
actually, it might even been a day.
Okay, because as soon as everything started, M was saying he doesn't know a whole lot about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he sits down and tells them a detailed story about the entire creation process and everything that happened up to now.
Yeah, I think he got some intel from his grandfather and his father when he brought the box to them in the days between that night and the meeting.
I guess that's fine. Yeah, if he asked for that, yeah. It's just kind of funny though.
Yeah, it does kind of make it was like I don't know anything about this. All right, here's the full story of the origin of the box, mm-hmm. And then just goes into it like suddenly he's like steepled fingers. He like adjusts his glasses.
Now officially, I don't know anything about this, but yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's like I can neither confirm nor deny.
Mm-hmm. And then my last one here is something A was saying. I won't reveal our names, especially my last name. But he's asking this to people on the internet that have information mm-hmm. on this. So if someone's knowledgeable on this fable, they know his last name.
Yeah, they might be able to find out his last name.
Because his last name is the name of 00.
Yeah. I agree with it and I agree with it to a degree because like he wants to remain anonymous. So like basically by remaining anonymous but asking if anybody has any information about the boxes in their local folklore, yes, they might find out about a guy who had one of the boxes, like the what's the bad one, the Hakai box. They might learn his last name, but that won't necessarily but that won't necessarily reveal him, like identify him.
Yeah,
It'll just identify his last name.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
and people have to do some more. People would have to do some like specific legwork. Like after reading this story and getting that request to actually like go and do a deep dive of that kind of stuff. So like at that point, they're kind of they're entering into his inner circle on this whole situation. So
yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of it kind of rubbed me weird, like at the end, like, where it's like I know we've like I've aliased everything so that like we can remain anonymous and stuff like that. But if you have any information about like all the stuff that we're talking about, you could please contact me. It's like it's kind of silly, but I kind of get it.
I can appreciate it though, because it's trying to keep it immersive.
Yeah,
like it's happening now, like in our world, and that's why it's posted online.
And he even addresses like, I know it's silly to like have this, but like,
I'm glad he said that, because if he didn't say that, I'd be saying it.
Yeah, and you'd be angry about it more so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the end of my notes.
Okay, so on to final thoughts. This was an interesting one for me. Like, it meandered around with the mystery, and it was sometimes hard to follow because of the goddamn aliases. Like that definitely needs to be done properly, I feel. And I could imagine this as its original blog style, like wherever it was originally online. And like, I think it would have been super engaging to read, because you'd be getting these clues constantly, like through with every entry, but not getting a full story until like the last ones. And that for me would be like kind of like engaging in that, like I want to know more, so I'd keep up with it. Like it's sort of like teasing you to keep coming back, like getting your hit on like on a clues or onto bits and pieces of the story. And I think I definitely feel I could use this story, or the subject of the story, the Kotoribako object, the box that steals children, in game fodder. Like 100%, I kind of want to use it for something. So I really enjoy it for that. It's such a weird thing. I was confused through some of the parts of the story because of like the alias issues and like some of the translation. I think maybe also had something to do with some of the inflections and problems that we had with the story. But I was never bored, and I was never like pulled away from the story while reading it. Like up until the very end, I was never like I'd like never wanted to like just like walk away from the story. So for me personally, I'm going to recommend this story because I actually really enjoyed it for the interesting idea. It's got some issues with its writing, but I think that's also on the translation end of like just trying to translate between two languages. And it's got a really cool object that I would love to steal for a game scenario. So, Mikey, the E stands for evil. Your verdict.
All right. Well, it was interesting. But we all hated the acronyms for names, or the letters for names. The biggest issue I have is that it explains too much, and that's where we end up with plot holes or issues that we really don't like the 56 plus children died for these boxes when only one or two boxes really need to be made.
Yeah. It's like they like started off as a mom and pop place and then industrialized industrialized blood magic. It's really just the Lorax, the moral of the Lorax. Like, don't industrialize and don't automate so hard.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, yeah, and really, what it boils down to is that there's a village, and basically they say we can't have and or maintain children, so we're going to kill all our children under 10 years old to create boxes that will make it so that the nobles in another town or that are oppressing us can't have children either.
Yeah.
So it's really one of the pettiest reasons out there.
Welcome to the human race.
But the biggest thing for me is that making a baby takes so long, and there can be so many complications, especially in the olden days. Like the mother might not even survive the childbirth. So killing all these children really doesn't make sense with how many
there were.
like how many boxes were made or attempted to be made, as because we don't know exactly how many were attempted.
Yeah, we could use a number on like the population of this town. I think Gamer brought that up earlier.
Yeah. So at most, I can only give this a partial recommendation. Because while the idea of a crazy cursed box is neat, the background behind it goes too far and falls apart. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get you. And next up is Gamer.
I'm gonna go with no. It's the story was just really hard to follow for me. Naming convention, as we said multiple times, yeah, it keeps their identities a secret and all that, but it just makes it a pain to read. Personally, it's funny that you said, Cultist, that you wanted to continue through it regardless. I wanted to stop and just not be present for this episode multiple times because of how much it annoyed me. How frustrating it was for me to just be able to keep characters straight.
Fair.
Like, there were multiple times where I felt like I'm in the dark when the characters in the story know more than I do. And that's fine normally, but when characters in the story that are just learning about things know more than I do, because they're acting on assumptions like they're being told stuff and things are happening and they're witnessing things, but I'm not. It's like I'm there with them in the story, but I have a blindfold on or I have earmuffs on. Like I'm missing stuff that I should be getting, you know? And it's frustrating for that to happen because the character of A would work as a reader surrogate, like we're seeing and learning through his eyes because he doesn't know anything about this, just like we don't know anything about this. But it takes until the very end of the story for us to understand.
Yeah.
Like it took 9/10 of the story to find out what the object does and its intention.
Mm-hmm.
Like it took that long. And its original creation and purpose is horrifying, but it's not in a good way at all. Like, over 60 children. And for what? So they could take out one family's children and so they can
have a deterrent.
get their village back. Yeah. And if that was the intent and they just wanted to get rid of them because they sent the one box out and then they're like, oh shit, we don't want to fuck with these guys. We're out. Bye. See ya.
Yeah.
Then that's great. But why didn't they just make the one box? Why keep making boxes for 13 years after the assholes left their village? You mentioned it might be a corruption thing, but that's us making more and more assumptions, which is what we have to do with this story repeatedly, is make assumptions because nothing is told to us. Realistically, if that was the goal, we're making this, get rid of our enemies, the enemies are gone. Great. We're happy. We don't need any more boxes. Awesome. How do we deal with this? We have to wait 100 years? Fine. Keep this one box for 100 years and deal with it. Done.
Yeah.
But that's not what happens. They keep making more for reasons and just makes life difficult. But with all these questions and roadblocks. It was all getting in the way for me enjoying this. I appreciate the attempt to keep it immersive at the end by giving us a reason as to why it's online, which I always like. But everything else is pulling my immersion away from it. So all in all, I can't really recommend it.
Okay.
And I guess that's about it.
All right. So then I guess that would be. We really ran the gambit today. Then I guess on our opinions on this, because
A little bit.
yeah. Well, I mean, again, I've said it multiple times in the past. We are different people, so we have different views on things. So that will bring us to, I guess, 1.5 out of 3 recommendations. Honestly, just whichever of us you kind of vibe with most, like go with that kind of opinion of whether or not you want to read the story or not.
Mhm.
So that will be this week's episode then. So if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below. Whether this gets posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. We're all on Twitter, so you can send us messages there. Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow, but without that W at the end because his name is very long.
It's got to be. It's a bit at this
Yes.
point.
And I'm at Review Cultist. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, Japanese spooky stories. You creep it, we'll peep it.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon, look up Al Dente Rigor Mortis, and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, early access, extra content. To our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories or translators of these stories, thank you immensely, because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void. And without you translating Japanese creepypastas that have been posted online by anonymous folks so that we can enjoy them, or at least read them and discuss them, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. So, thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. E stands for evil.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigor Mortis. Sleep well.